You're listening to the Greeks Gridiron, live with Ethan Haristodoulou.
Welcome back, everyone, to more of the Greeks Gridiron. I am Ethan Haristodoulou. It is May 2nd, 2022, and today we are doing our weekly power rankings of the USFL, where we are discussing all 8 teams, ranking them from worst to first. I had a pretty tough week of predictions. I started out 1-3 in week 1. I went 4-0 last week and then got kicked in the nuts this week going 0-4. So predictions aren't going too well. We have a lot of movement in the power rankings today. A handful of teams just shuffling around a spot or two. But if you know what, let me just look at this. If I'm correct here, I think every single team in the power rankings moved this week. Yes, they did. So a lot of movement to talk about. And as we always do, we'll start with number 8 and work our way up. So make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and also comment down below your power rankings for all 8 teams before I start diving into this here, and we'll see how they compare. So kicking things off at the number 8 spot, and I don't really think that there is any team who has shown quite more than the Pittsburgh Maulers that they belong at the bottom of this list after dropping a goose egg and being the first team to get shut out this season, week 3. And there is a lot to dislike about what the Maulers do offensively. The defense is hit or miss depending on the week. They can be good. They can be even better sometimes. But honestly, this week was not about how bad the defense was or anything like that. It's really just the offense, and some of the game planning as well, and just the situational play calling is not good. When I was watching this game, I felt like there were more times than not where I'm seeing play calling and things, and maybe it's poor execution too at times, but just when I'm watching plays happen, I'm thinking to myself, why the hell is that the play call? Why is this what they're doing right now? So there is a lot that needs to be fixed over there for Pittsburgh. I mean, this was just both QBs combined for 19 completions, 125 yards, and an average of 4 yards per pass. That is abysmal. I will say that the running game, it's starting to find itself, but I don't know if Groshek is really that guy. I know he had a strong week 1, and even week 2 he was solid, but at this point now, I believe it's pronounced Madre London, 2 straight weeks better with a yards per carry average than Groshek, so I think they might need to start giving him some more looks and seeing just exactly what he brings to the table, because I don't know, sometimes I was, especially this week, I can't really speak off memory for the other couple of weeks, but this week I felt like I kept saying it to myself, is Groshek would get the handoff and it would just feel like he was very slow off the jump. Like it never felt like he came out from behind the line with a burst. And maybe it was just some of the run. I was half paying attention to the game, half working on some stuff. So maybe there were good plays that I missed from him, but it just felt like when London was getting the ball, I was seeing a little bit more from him, and I really liked the way he was playing, and I want to see him get some more looks there. And again, despite allowing 24 points, I don't really blame this game on the defense. The punt block that was earlier in that first quarter did not help the defense out, pinning them back in that, realistically, minus that punt block situation, the defense did a solid job in allowing only in actuality 16 points. I mean, you're going to bend and hopefully not break in that blocked punt situation there, but I mean, it is what it is. You just came off of a long scoring drive and then you get backed up like that. The offense needs to get it together. Obviously, Bailey Gaither not being there, it very clearly hurt the offense here. He's, their leading wide receiver and all, but a lot of work needs to be done over there in Pittsburgh. Coming in at number 7, and they were the number 8 team last week, I have the Michigan Panthers, who are now sitting at 1-2. As I mentioned with the Maulers, getting the first shutout of the season. Congratulations to them on getting the big win. It's unfortunate that Paxton Lynch got hurt so early, because especially those first couple of drives, and that first drive more so than the second one because it was such short yardage to the end zone, the offense actually ran fairly well, and I'll even call myself out on this. I snickered at the idea of Paxton Lynch when he got drafted into the Michigan Panthers, because I just thought to myself, like, oh my God, Paxton Lynch, because I think of, how his tenure went in the NFL. But in all reality, this is a league that Paxton Lynch should be able to actually thrive in, if you really think about it, just because of the stage he's been on prior. And he is 1-3. He was able to win a game in the NFL, which says more than most for the quarterbacks that are in this league currently. I think Paxton Lynch does have some really good potential, just hopefully that ankle mechanical issue is not too bad. The ground game, though, for Michigan, talk about going off. 244 yards total, 3 touchdowns combined. An excellent day for the running attack. It just felt like they were rolling over the Maulers defense all game long. Reggie Corbin had 20 of those carries and 133 yards and a touchdown. He averaged 6.6 yards per carry. The guy was on fire. He was getting the ball and pretty much getting a first down every other run. It was ridiculous. The defense didn't really have to bring too much pressure, but honestly, the defense really didn't need to do too much. The Maulers seem to get in their own way more often than not at this point. Last week seems to be an anomaly because the first week and this week, the Maulers offense, abysmal, and they definitely need some work. The passing game is obviously still completely absent from the Panthers as well. Again, things looked pretty good for like that first drive for Paxton Lynch. He was doing a good job running and passing, but ultimately that injury, when he tried to play for a few snaps and it was clear that he could not get it going, especially if anyone was coming off the edge and he had to move, there was just no shot for him. He even said it himself. You could hear it on his mic'd up. So passing game needs to get sorted out. Ground game looked really good. I don't know if that's just a combination of the Maulers being in such a bad spot. I don't know. We'll have to see if that continues, but I really like the ground game for the Panthers coming out of this one. Coming in at number 6, and they do drop down a spot, the Houston Gamblers. They were ranked 5 last week. I now have them at 6. And when I first looked at this, I thought, man, what a heartbreaking loss. But when I feel like watching the game and then going back and looking at the numbers as well, it helps you get a little bit of a clearer picture. It was a heartbreaking loss because the Gamblers led for the majority of the game. But when you just completely disappear in the second half, I mean, you go up 23-14 and then just completely fall apart at that point, and you can't get an offensive drive going. I don't really know what happened. They were able to get a field goal, and then they had 4 punts, one getting blocked in the second half. Like their drives amounted to nothing afterwards in the second half, and they were doing really well. Mark Thompson was running really well. He had 24 carries, 147 yards. He was averaging 6.1 yards a carry. He even scored one as well. Clayton Thorson was pretty solid. He was able to clean up the majority, or pretty much all his turnovers, because the one pick he had did not really even matter. 240 yards, 2 touchdowns. The pick at the end of the first half there to just get a Hail Mary thrown to the end zone. I mean, ultimately, this was a really good game by the Breakers. It's just the offense just completely lost it and stalled out in the second half. They were playing really well, and the game, it felt like they went away from the hurry up. The first half of the game, they were playing really quick, and they were gassing out the Bandits' defense. And at one point, it really felt like, oh man, like the Bandits are running into the same problem that they ran in last week with the Breakers. The Bandits defense struggles in hurry up, no huddle, up tempo type of offensive styles of play. So whoever plays them next week needs to focus in on that. And the weeks going forward, they need to focus in on that and take note of that when they're game planning, is go for like the up tempo, hurry up type of offense. Keep them on their heels. Don't let them, swap players in and out with whatnot. I'm really shocked the way the game ended for the Gamblers. The defense was pretty solid. They had a forced fumble. Chris Odom, dude's awesome. He is an awesome player. Excellent. Shout out to him. I want to make sure he gets his love. And Will Likely is a hilarious dude, and he's a stud. Love the prop cigarette thing. Love the attitude. But ultimately, just a game that the Gamblers shouldn't have lost, essentially. A game that they should not have lost. And I didn't want to drop them a spot, but I felt like they needed to. Coming in now at number 5, they were ranked number 3 last week. They're sitting at 1-2 now themselves. We have the Philadelphia Stars, and I almost dropped them to number 6, but I decided to give them a little bit of benefit of the doubt in losing Brian Scott in the earlier parts of the game. Him going down definitely hurt the offense a bit. I love what Brian Scott brings to the table for this team. I feel like he is definitely playing as one of the best quarterbacks in the league so far. And again, I talked about this in my picks, and I'll say it again here. You have a strong argument for him being snubbed at a player of the week last week with the way he played. Case Cookus, he did come in and do a solid job backing him up, 13-20, 146 yards, a touchdown. He did play pretty well, but you could tell that it's not the offense that he's running. It's Brian Scott's show over there, and Case Cookus did a solid job. And honestly, if the Maulers want to give the Philadelphia Stars a call and see if they can make a trade, try to get Case Cookus if you can, because Case Cookus probably plays better than Kyle Lauletta or Josh Love over there in Pittsburgh, and maybe that'll help things out. But I mean, definitely not a bad idea. Maybe the Stars would be reluctant to let him go because you want to have a good backup in case Brian Scott's injury, it tends to extend longer than you'd want. Who knows? But I mean, quarterback situation in Philadelphia, pretty strong. Ground game, though, completely absent. This is unacceptable. 10 total carries for 31 yards through the entire game. That's for everyone who ran the football for the Philadelphia Stars. Only 10 carries in an entire football game. That's not winning football. You cannot abandon the run game like that and just hope on your passing game, especially when your QB1 goes down with an injury. Kicking concerns are also a problem. They were 1 for 3 on field goals, and they had a missed extra point as well. And 6 plays run in the fourth quarter. Another one of those things where your offense just completely disappears when it matters most. You have 6 plays run in the fourth quarter as your defense is just getting completely run over by the rushing attack of the Generals. I mean, you can't, that's not winning football. You can't just go 3 and out to end the game. Like, that's just not winning football. I like the Philadelphia Stars offense. They were dealt a tough blow losing Brian Scott. Hopefully things get better, but they stand at number 5 in my opinion. Coming in at number 4, and shout out to them because I did not expect them to come out of this game winners, and they were the favorites going into this in terms of betting odds, but I felt like the matchup was for the Gamblers to win, but the Bandits got it done, and props to them. 2-1 now. A lot of flack going their way after the blowout loss from last week, so I'm pretty sure that this win felt very good for the team. They struggled a little bit early, but they rallied when it mattered, and they got the W. Te'amu had a real shaky game, I would say. He was very up and down. 26 of 30. He did have 255 yards. He had a touchdown. He had an interception, a fumble that would have completely flipped the game around, and he went to go throw the ball, and he just dropped back, and as he dipped his arm backwards, the ball just came out with it. I don't know. It was a real bizarre fumble. Luckily, an offensive lineman was able to dive onto it, but a shaky game nonetheless. Te'amu has looked good at times, but he's also looked not as good as advertised at times. So whether it's him just not being comfortable yet or whatever the issue may be, he's getting there slowly but surely. And, for him to be able to rally the team late to get the win the way they did, that definitely shows the leadership. And it's exactly what the Bandits wanted to get out of him when they drafted him. So it's good to see that he's showing the signs of playmaking ability that the Bandits initially drafted him for. Wide receiver Derek Dillon, 6 catches, 124 yards. He had a game with a touchdown as well. The defense did enough to win the game. There wasn't anything really big and splashy about them. They just played really good defense overall, I would say, especially in that second half where they tightened things up. They just weren't letting anything really get by them, because when you look at the numbers, nothing really pops out other than Christian Sam. He looked really good. 8 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, and a pass deflection as well. Probably their best player on defense this past week. So overall, good game by the Bandits. Excellent job rallying late. Got the W. They're sitting at number 4 now, moving up a couple of spots after being number 6 last week. Coming in at number 3, slipped up a spot. They got themselves a big win late in the game. New Jersey Generals now sitting at 2-1. They were ranked number 4 last week, and I got them now at number 3. DeAndre Johnson is their QB1, and while the Luis Perez thing was fun the first week, these last couple of weeks he has shown his weaknesses, and DeAndre Johnson thrives with the legs and just the ability to also throw. He's a good combination of both. And I want to see him run with the QB1 spot going forward. I think that the Generals need to shy away from their flip-flopping between the quarterbacks thing and just stick with a 1 QB system, and DeAndre Johnson should be that guy. He was only 6 for 8, but he had 130 yards, and then he had 11 carries for 94 yards and a touchdown. He deserves that quarterback 1 spot. Started the second half off, 3 straight scoring drives, and this was, once they finally decided to kind of pull Perez and give DeAndre Johnson the full reins in that second half, he just completely lit a fire under the offense and made a world of a difference for them. And then the ground game as a whole, 269 yards, 5.8 average of yards per carry, 3 touchdowns altogether between Johnson, Darius Victor, and Trey Williams. That ground game just ran wild. So this offense, I feel, runs best when DeAndre Johnson is in it. Give him the ball, give him the start, run with him. I think that he is probably the best quarterback for this team right now, and at this point, I think you're only hurting your team more and more by continuing to run the 2 QB system. And maybe they were just still trying to iron out who they wanted. Johnson should be getting the start next week as QB1. I really hope he does, but I think he should be getting the start. A little bit concerning with the field goal misses. This game could have been a little bit wider and a little bit more far apart had the Generals made a couple of their kicks. That is something to keep an eye on. Their kicker was 3 for 3 on extra point attempts, but he did go 1 for 3 on field goals, so just something to keep an eye on. Coming in at the number 2 spot, they were ranked number 1. My New Orleans Breakers, they're sitting at 2-1. This was a very frustrating loss to watch because it felt like a game that the Breakers should be winning, but they just could not get anything going offensively, and special teams had some mistakes as well. The defense played pretty solid. Maybe came back down to earth a little bit. They only had a sack, but they still had 5 tackles for loss. Not as aggressive as they have been in terms of pass rush, but Kyle Sloter playing hurt, a little bit of a head scratcher. Despite the fact that he was hurt, he still had 244 yards and a couple of touchdowns. He had an interception at the end of the game that, was like the back break, the straw that broke the camel's back, essentially. But I'm not sure why they had him play hurt. And if you're the backup QB, you're probably pretty frustrated about that because you could tell it hurt his mobility and he wasn't able to move around the pocket as comfortably. He had a lot of just errant throws, and maybe it was because of the pain he was dealing with and everything. He did miss 21 of his passes. He was 26 of 47, so he took nearly 50 throws in this game. But the speaking of missing, not being able to move around in the pocket and just like moving around in general, the ground game completely absent as well. TJ Logan, Jordan Ellis, 25 carries for only 90 yards, 3.6 average. Not a great ground game. Unfortunately, TJ Logan's hurt. Hopefully he comes back. When Ellis and Logan are there and they're like the 1-2 punch, I feel like the offense operates a lot better. But Logan brings I feel like Logan and Ellis, they complement each other really well. So the ground game minus Logan definitely hurts. Ellis, serviceable job, but you need to have both those backs in there. I think that Ellis is more like through the passing game. Logan does a really good job on the ground, and they complement each other really, really well. And so I would, hopefully Logan gets back sooner rather than later for the offense. Johnny Dixon, awesome game by him. 7 catches, 86 yards, a couple of touchdowns. And like I said, the defense did come back to earth. A little bit disappointing game. As a fan of the Breakers myself, it just felt like the game was within reach the entire time, and the offense just could not get the ball to the end zone one last time to even just tie up the game and prevent a loss. But it is what it is. They fall to number 2. I still think they're one of the better teams in the league. Hopefully Kyle Sloter with the next week off can maybe, rehabilitate that groin injury, get himself back and ready to go for next week. And if not, maybe roll with the backup here and let your guy heal. And then coming in at number 1, the only team undefeated, the 3-0 Birmingham Stallions. I want to give credit to the defense and the special teams. They had a blocked punt in the fourth quarter that mattered when, for as ugly as the offense was at times during this game, they did a good job of not letting that get to them and just allowing it to completely stall them out all the way to the end of the game. Jamar Smith was 15 of 38. He had 197 yards, a couple of touchdowns, an interception. The accuracy issues was obviously a big concern there. Hopefully they can clean that up. I like Jamar Smith. I think that he runs the offense really well. I do not want to see Alex Magoo under center, but if you're completing less than half of your passes and stalling out your offense the way it was, then who knows? He did give them fits on the ground. I'll credit him with that. I feel like the Breakers really struggled dealing with such a mobile quarterback. And so that's probably the big reason why I want to see Jamar Smith continue to be QB1 is just because the ability that he brings with his legs, it far supersedes Magoo. And that's not to say that Magoo isn't a great athlete, but Jamar Smith is just a better athlete. And hopefully he can rein in some of those accuracy problems. The ground game did not really get going either. CJ Marable, 16 carries, 36 yards. He averaged 2.2 yards a carry. That is not a recipe for success. Victor Bolden continued to be like the wide receiver 1, and he was the very first pick in the draft at wide receiver. So continues to prove why he was the number 1 guy taken, leading the team there, 6 catches, 70 yards TD. But overall, a really big team win for the Stallions. When they can't win it one way, they're winning it another way. And through special teams and defense, they definitely got this game done and really grinding it out on offense. So overall, they deserve the number 1 spot. They are undefeated. I've seen some people, come after them with the whole, well, they're playing a home game every single week, even when they're the away team. I mean, it is what it is with that. At the end of the day, the best teams win regardless of the situation. And I mean, the Birmingham Stallions, it's not like the crowd was out there playing on the field. Yeah, it's nice to have them cheering for you, but the Breakers just could not get that game won, and that's on the Breakers more than anything else. I don't want to take away any credit from the Stallions, but there was plenty of opportunity for the Breakers to take the lead, and it's not like the fans were the ones playing defense there. That's all I got to say. So shout out to that Birmingham defense and that team as a whole. 3-0 through 3 weeks, leading at number 1. But that is my power rankings. I appreciate you guys for watching. Again, comment down below. Let me know what you guys think. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Appreciate you all for watching as always. Have a good one.